Random blade. Arabesque boss. Suddenly, there was a person calling from under the floor, so Jingoro was scared, but soon he was ashamed of the scare that he didn't like, and bowed down a little, saying, "Who is it?" If you are a suspicious person, there is no way to call out from the other side. He had been blessed with food a couple of times to beggars living in this nearby bamboo grove, so he was relieved that he might be the beggar. Arabesque boss. Kuki Yusuk, on the contrary, retired under the floor with G after calling with a voice. And he was pushing forward with only his elbows and right foot. Who is a weird bastard? It's a nuisance to sneak into such a place, yeah, it's probably the usual boss. What? Hey, don't you think there's nothing coming around this time? Jingoro said without even looking, but he seemed to come up with something. Oh yeah, didn't you see that Kamuso in the evening? I think it's been raining somewhere, but if you know, bring an umbrella with you. Isn't it? Don't you know? I know. If you know it, you won't be asked. It's a posterity. As soon as one leg of Jingoro went down to the garden geta after being caught casually. Yusuk Kuki, who clasped his handle, and was deeply rooted in his power. Yes. I paid a sword to Yakunaji. Although it was from under the floor, Ai's elbow extended enough, so the sword that had taken off the scabbard laid its blade on one leg of Jingoro's wound that returned from the top of the yukata, and caused blood to fly. Gave. Jingoro was surprised. Saying he felt like pulling one leg, but he couldn't bear his wounds, and he fell into the darkness of the garden where it was raining. However, the hem of the yukata that Yusuk touched before being cut into the meat was a big obstacle at times. The wound has not reached the bone. Damn it. He stood up staggeringly. It seems that he tries to get the wakizashi while holding down the wound on his deep crotch, saying but it is a deep wound anyway. When I thought that I had staggered a step or two, I found myself again, and the shadow of the yukata was covered with rain, blood, and mud, and I could only see a white, brutal struggle in the rain. Moo. Yusuk Kuki, with his face, stubbornly stuck to the soil under the floor, while holding the sword in one hand, retreated further toward the back and watched the situation. The rain droplets that were sweeping the ground suddenly burst into white-like fog. From the torn eaves of Shigurito, a waterfall overflows with polka dots, and the lights in the middle of the open are swaying to extinguish. When is it? A cowardly guy, Tai-chi. Jingoro's cry was cut off in the rain, but his breath trying to scream, and his hard work trying to get up were overwhelmed by the power of the rain, and he was disappointed like a hydrangea. It ends up. The event was so momentary that neither Ikehikiro Towara nor Mankichi, who entered the living room in the back, knew it at all, but just looked at the voice of the rain of the gale running on the roof. However, just now, Tai-chi, who was put to sleep by Jingoro's hand, felt something. Oh? Then, while pulling out the inconvenient body from the mosquito net. Boss. I called it, but there was no reply. The door that was closing is still open. From between the doors, the dark and terrifying color of the outside looked like a devil's mouth. The deep blue lightning flashed in the barking wind. What's wrong? By the way, there's a strange sound right now. Taichi's complexion made me feel anxious about crying. What? Unintentionally crawling to the porch. Boss. He called with a sad voice, as if he was worried about his immediate family. Mankichi. What is it? Isn't it like someone is making a loud voice all the time? Where are you? It seems to be the room over there. It's confused by the sound of this heavy rain, but if I'm a little calm now, I don't feel like that. Is that so? Oh, I see, there is a voice calling it a boss. What is it? Isn't it the person who was in the front seat and claimed to be a sick person? Maybe, but it's weird. Why are you yelling out? Ikehikiro and Mankichi, who had entered the back room and were unraveling the obi, stood up and listened. The melancholy voice of Taichi was heard 2 or 3 times in a row near the corridor this time. Husband Mankichi makes deep wrinkles on his eyebrows and stares at the other person's face as if he is crying. It seems like I'm going to say something strange again, but I shouldn't have been upset from the evening. It's been so since I came down the mountain of Seiki. I'll be careful anyway. Do you say Jingoro is suspicious? No, I don't doubt those people, but the samurai I met on the back cliff of Myojin can't fall into my head. Perhaps, with a star on Jingoro, the Hachisuka family members were already around. It may be. Before the words were over, the clear voice of Tai Chi was finally heard madly again. I don't have a boss. A boss. What up? After retightening the obi, the two of them started to fall apart, and went back to the original room. It was grated. The boss. I can't see the boss. Can't you see Jingoro? Ikehikiro bounced. Now, here. Oh, there was a sound of closing the door. When I thought about it, I couldn't see it anymore. Mankichi, who was looking outside, was astonished and turned the light of the lantern toward the splash garden. When I saw it, something white was lying down in the rain. Jingoro's yukata, which was left to the blood to flow from the wound, seems to have dyed the area like a pond of blood and fainted in agony. Ah, Taichi's face is like a dead man. Mankichi and Ikehikiro saw an unexpected change, and at the same time, without any hesitation, they jumped down to the garden after receiving a quick rain. As soon as it got off, Mankichi's shoulder struck a rotten shutter, so one door fell down on a folding screen. Oh. It's being cut. Jingoro, be careful. While Ikehikiro hugged him and Mankichi called with his mouth in his ear, it rained sideways without temporary borrowing. This, Jingoro, Jingoro. Don't relax, you've noticed, it's not a critical point. Bale-sama. Jingoro, with his help, stood up hard and stared at all sides. Don't let your guard down because you're distracted by me, the Hachisuka family is around. Well, Hachisuka? It was then. Yasuke, who was hiding under the floor and measuring the time, put out a prepared whistle from the bottom, and put it in his mouth. Loose, but as soon as the sound of a loud whistle rang from under the floor in all directions, a black shadow broke out around the three gardeners. The thin white blade shadow also moves along with the person in a flash, and there is also a mask that makes the sharp point swim low and aims at it. Hey, I can't stand my legs, said Ikehikiro Tawara, covering Jingoro, who had his teeth brushed against the enemy in front of him. Mankichi. Don't let your guard down. Oh, this guy. The insects told me from the evening. Mankichi also grabbed the 10 hands of his inner pocket. When the figure who had formed a ring squeezed the ring equally and stuffed the sword of the magic blade from somewhere. Wait. A dull voice ran. When the three people who were standing in their arms suddenly looked at them, Jiraiya Sheath was watching over one of the big trees in the garden while avoiding the rain. Needless to say, it is a corner of Tendo. Only one corner is a high-pronged wild idiot without a mask. It is Kinosuke Mori who is on that side, and is holding the koikuchi. Oh, that's 3 people. Barking in a harsh tone. It is already treated as a prisoner on a rope. One word can be heard as the wind and rain screaming from the side and smashing into pieces. It's no good. Give up and move your hand behind. Needless to say, we are the ones who have been directed to Hachisuka Awamori, and we have the right to kill and kill them. Kill. Damari. Ikehikiro Tawara interrupted it and sternly replied. Who is Awa Mamoru, the Hachisuka family? Can we add such a wolf to the innocent one? A white tooth in one corner can be seen peeling in the darkness, like him. Don't say anything white. Awa's Samurai Shigeki, I'm afraid, but I'll give it to you. Without saying, what do you do? The department will be remembered in your heart. If there is a source to open up, just come to the mansion of the Anji River and stay there. No matter what I say, these people don't remember being drawn to such places. I can't say no to the fearless mortal sin of violating Awa's ban, and trying to reveal the secrets of my house. The prohibition is a prohibition only for the Awa territory, and it is not possible to do it under the Dafa of the world. Ikehikiro's speech is devised just because he played a concentric role, and his clarity of reason and sharpness of words are inspired word by word. Let's not even remember that we have crossed the forbidden world of Awa, and I have never searched for secrets. Even if it is seen by suspicious demons, it is not for our family. There seems to be a secret that fears the eyes of the world. He cursed the pain. Indeed, in territories other than Awa, it is only violent to sway Awa's national ban. However, of course, it was an era when the violence and power were rampant. Like the corner of Tendo, the original temperament, which eats grace with violence and is proud with violence, cannot listen to such a principle. Okay. No answer required. When he said this, he waved from the shadow of things. That's right, let's get rid of the arabesque Jingoro of Edo, the Tenma Ronin who sniffs everywhere, and the dogs of his minions. When I say the shadow of the mask that moves steadily screams from all directions at once. What's going on? Would be Mankichi, but the first thing he did was to slam him with 10 hands. Oh. Yes. Random voices entwined with each other. People and people, swords and swords swirled in black. The rain became a little dark, and the brightness of the sky shined through the gaps between the flickering and frayed turbulent clouds, and for a moment I drew a remarkable dance of the sword. However, as the clouds close, it also flutters in the original darkness, Shura's scream, and the blowing storm. After a while, from the whirlpool. Sorry. I heard Ikehikiro screaming. Oh, my husband. Mankichi, drop here regardless of me. Don't let him go. The number of people in the crowd split in two. On the other hand, he became a long snake and chased Mankichi, and the remaining number of people folded over to Ikehikiro, and hung a rope. What happened to Jingoro? Because the lights of Shigarito went out, we couldn't understand the state of many cities. Mankichi broke the fence and ran away. At that time, a tremendous loud sound hit the garden of Shigarito. Ichijo's vermilion to the eyes of everyone who thought that the eardrum was pierced. A pillar of fire that looked sharp. It's a lightning strike. Right now, the Zelkova around the corner was giving off a strange odor. Sita, all the figures have fallen to the ground at once. Natural violence that transcends human violence. In the void, the Zelkova screamed as if the trunk was white, and the Zelkova was torn apart, mocking the earth that had become lonely.